Hey everyone, welcome back to Like Us. I'm Erin, your host through this post-show play-by-play of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. We are covering season 15, episode 3, and we continue our extremely unofficial, yet very serious point system to figure out who is the most relatable queen of Beverly Hills. As always, the points are made up, but the vibes are real. And by the end of the season, someone is taking the Like Us diamond. Now, let's get into the episode. Okay, so the episode starts and we're at Bose's house because she's realized that a lot of the girls in this group are single and she feels like they are not putting themselves out there enough. So she's going to do something about it and host a speed dating party. Now, before the party starts, the men have already arrived and she's kind of giving them the lay of the land, the setup before the girls get there. And in this setup, we're seeing a bunch of text messages where the ladies are going back and forth trying to figure out, oh, I don't know what to wear. I'm so nervous. The party will entail Sutton, Erica, Kyle, Rachel, and Dorit. They're all going to get out there, and Bose thinks that she has the men for them at this event. Now, immediately, I see that there's this guy named Ben that's talking to Bose, and I'm like, why does this guy look familiar? And then it hits me that it's Ben Glebe from the show Idiot Test on Game Show Network. And I don't know if anyone watched Idiot Test. I kind of pray that no one did because I did win Idiot Test back in 2015. And it was a show that like basically did like a bunch of like brain teasers and kind of like think of like the New York Times puzzles that happened every day was a game show, and that's what Idiot Test was. And what's funny about that is I did go on it with like the guy I went to prom with who was like my boyfriend at the time, and we did end up winning the show Idiot Test, and Ben Glebe was the host. So I have met this man, and that does not give Bose a like us point. It's just simply my own lore that I'm sharing. But for a second, I was like, wait a minute, why does this man look so familiar? It's because it was Ben Glebe from Idiot Test. He's also a comic, and also he got a lot of screen time because he was like kind of flirting with Dorit. We then move to all of the ladies getting ready, and honestly, this is when the like us moments for this episode really start stacking up. Erica says she wants to look normal because men get scared.
Approachable, but not.
Dorit is running late and needs a Coca-Cola. Sutton's like, I want to look cute, but I don't want to look like I'm trying too hard. And everyone preparing for getting ready for the date, all like us moments all across the board. Then all of the women start arriving one by one. And Erica looks like she's going to court. Kyle's wearing a $36,000 handbag. Dorit, Rachel, Sutton, everyone's in black. Everyone looks scared. And they're laughing at themselves, being like, oh my God, we can't believe we're all wearing black. Oh, this is so embarrassing. But I felt like everyone showing up for a speed dating event wearing all black felt like a huge like us, because sometimes you put black on because it's a date. Sometimes it's because it's a funeral. Sometimes it's because you just don't want to think. When you're wearing a black outfit, everything matches. You don't know what the vibe's going to be. You don't want to look like you're trying too hard. You don't want to scare anyone off with any colors. Like, I just felt like black is such a safe outfit choice. And the fact that even Rachel Zoe, who is like a stylist, was also wearing black, it just was hilarious to me. And they're all kind of like, oh my God, we're in mourning. And Erica's like, it's a dark cloud over all of us. We all are grieving. We don't know. And it's like the drama of all of these ladies being scared to date and like also being exhausted by the concept of dating. Hilarious. They all got a group like us point in this moment. Right before they get ready, after they mingle with each other to prepare themselves to meet the men, as they're getting ready to meet the men before they walk outside, Erica and Kyle are like, we don't even know if we want to do this. And they pretend like they're going to go leave to go get Jack in the Box. And I felt like that also was a like us point, especially for Kyle Richards, who is a true California girl. Like, that was a like us point all across the board. I can't tell you how many times when I was in college, I would be at a party and I would be like, guys, we have to go. Jack in the Box is going to close. Like, Jack in the Box stayed open till like 2:00. And sometimes it would be all night. So that was always the safe place to eat, was the Jack in the Box in Long Beach. We'd be like, we gotta go. We gotta go. Because if we don't leave this party now, we're not gonna get food. And everyone would go get Jack in the Box. And I actually think that one of my roommates at the time, like the people at Jack in the Box knew her car. So she could like she could like drive up and they would start getting her order ready for her because she ate there so often. And I think sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And sometimes that is a fast food restaurant. And who am I to judge? Who amongst us hasn't pulled up one too many times to a fast food restaurant and they're like, hey, we got your order ready. And I feel like that was Kyle and Erica in this moment trying to leave to go to Jack in the Box. It also tells me everything I need to know about how invested they are in these men. Kyle was already not interested, and Erica was only interested if people thought she was pretty. And I love that for her. She didn't say that, but that's the vibe she's giving. So now we get into the actual dates, and we get a clip of all of these speed dates. And I'll be honest, none of these men are right for these women, and that's fine. I wouldn't expect anything less. I feel bad for Bose because I do think she was like, oh, I think I'm going to do something. But I think, I don't know if this was casting and they're pretending like Bose knew these men, or if Bose actually knew these men, or if she actually set up a wide net and did this event on her own. If she did, God bless her. Because this is actually how dating should go down for these ladies, okay? Kyle should be with a billionaire or an heir to a billionaire. That's what Kyle needs. And they need to be obsessed with her. Dorit should date someone younger than her who makes serious money. Because Dorit is kind of young in spirit, and I feel like if she's with someone younger, it'll bring out the youthfulness that's already in her energy. Erica should find someone exactly her age. Exactly her age, but they should be a successful artist. That's who Erica should be with. She should be with an artist who like can just appreciate her as an artist, and they can just be like weirdo little artists together. But the guy needs to be like, he needs to be a real successful artist. She also could be with a DJ, but I think that's a step too far. Sutton should date someone slightly older, and it needs to be someone who will allow her to live out her grandma dream. She mentions that later in the episode, but Sutton bugs me so much, but I do think she deserves to be Grandma Brown and live out her dream. I do think she deserves that. Rachel should have an endless amount of love affairs, and she should never end up with any of these men, but maybe she does have one man that is so obsessed with her and he buys her like fantastic jewelry, like massive, fantastic jewelry collections. But they should never marry because Rachel Zoe is protecting her empire. That's my matchmaking logic. Moving on. So once all of the speed dating wraps up, the women split into two conversations at the fire pit. The men go home, and Erica, Dorit, and Sutton move into the house, and they talk about where Dorit is at with PK. And Erica's like, oh, did the kids go to Florida? And Dorit says, yes, the kids went to Florida. They're having a great time. They're with their grandparents. We don't get the nitty gritty, although I wish they would have kept the nitty gritty of those details into the edit, because I felt like we got so much information about whether PK was going or not going. And I actually wish they would have told us, like, did PK also go to Florida? Rachel had mentioned something he was going to stop for a day and then go to San Tropez. Like, I want to know, I need the details on this Florida trip. And I feel like they only gave us a teeny tiny bit. Kyle, Bose, and Rachel stay outside at the fire pit, and they're talking about Kyle's dating life. And we get the sound clip, the sound bite that they used in the trailer, which is Kyle says that she would get remarried one day and that she could go Brad or she could go Angelina, which is the most dated reference, but I love that so much for her. Like, Brad or Angelina, like, there's no other heartthrobs. We couldn't have been listing Gen Z millennial. Like, I love that Kyle's like, I'm going to list people that are my age that are hot. They're still hot, by the way. Brad and Angelina. They still are very attractive people. But also Kyle mentioning, I could go Brad, I could go Angelina. It's like, yeah, girl, we knew that. Moving on. So now that we have this information about the dating life and the ladies, and we see, honestly, to me, my favorite part of the whole episode was the speed dating round. But we move on from that, and now we go to Amanda's house. And I don't know if we get a lot from this scene with Amanda and her family, but it does introduce us to Amanda and her family. And I guess that's necessary because she is new, but it's not really new information about her. It's more of the same. Amanda manifested her whole life. She manifested her husband. She manifested the kids. She is so intentional. And I agree that it's important to envision your life. Love that for Amanda, that she was hanging out at Walmart's in high school and now she gets to walk her kids in a stroller in Beverly Hills. I'm like, honestly, like, that's not even me being facetious. I'm happy for her. But the way that she's speaking to her kids about, oh, your dad, I had a dream your dad got me a ring from Smart and Final, but then he got me a good ring and it took a while and blah, blah. It's like, that feels very, like, I don't believe she's actually talking to kids that young about this. I feel like it felt very overly produced, a little scripted. And I'm glad that Amanda is a queen manifester. And listen, like, I can be in my woo-woo bag too. I can be a woo-woo girl. You know, I can charge my crystals and sit and sit down and do meditations and journal. Like I am pretty water woo-woo, you know? But the thing about manifesting is, and when people are talking about their manifestations and using that as a way to brag about their life, like Amanda is doing here, is that you have to be able to remember that one thing that someone is manifesting that could be their dream is another person's nightmare. And for me personally, manifesting a man with 2 toddlers would be my own personal nightmare. I love that for Amanda. I love that she manifested a full family. Good for her. That's not what I would have wanted to call into my own life. But love that for her. And personally, I am side-eyeing her execution, but I feel like her intentions are good. But something about Amanda. I'm just moving on. Well, we're going to keep an eye on that. I think that's what it is. For Amanda, we're going to keep an eye on Amanda. I think we have to keep an eye on what Amanda's got going on. Okay? On to Sutton going to Rachel's house. So Sutton arrives to Rachel's house and they talk about last names post-divorce. And Rachel says she dropped her married name immediately. Sutton says it makes her sad. I think the annulment makes her sad because it makes her realize that Christian never will want her back and they're never going to get remarried one day, which I feel like they've been divorced for a while. So she should have known that, but God bless her. And I also think that Sutton, in this conversation with Rachel, where she's saying, I really am worried about being the grandma that's the poor grandma. Like, that's basically what she's saying. Oh, poor Grandma Brown with 18 cats next to Christians, you know, who will be the Strack grandparents who will have a lot of houses and be really rich. And something about Rachel that I love is I actually love how blunt Rachel Zoe is. She's basically telling Sutton in this conversation, look, you have to move on. And honestly, I appreciate that directness. And I think it's something that Sutton needs to hear. Like, she doesn't need to hear that, like, oh, he's a bad guy. Like, Rachel's just like, okay, he doesn't want you. Cool. Moving on. Move on. And I don't know why dating is still Sutton's storyline. You know what I mean? It's like Sutton has been divorced for it's like, what does Sutton do? What is she doing? Because her kids are also kind of old. Like, she has like teenagers and kids in college. And so it's interesting to me that we're not seeing more of Sutton's social life. Even if the social life didn't include the women on the show, you know, like it's in the early seasons of her being on the show, she would mention, oh, I'm a part of these boards and these charities and I'm doing these things. And oh, everyone can't be acting like that because it's embarrassing for the groups I belong to. And why don't we ever see the people in those groups? Why don't we ever see those groups that Sutton is belonging to? Why isn't she going to galas and events? Actually, this is true for all of the women. I want them all to expand their world. Erica is at her best when we're seeing Erica's expanded world. I don't even know what Dorit's world is. We need to see more of Dorit's world. Who are the friends of the kids, like Jagger and Phoenix? I'm sure they have friends who have parents. I want to see Dorit at the playgroup. That's interesting. I want to see Dorit at the playgroup. I want to see Sutton at galas. I want to see Erica with her glam squad and the people. Honestly, even Erica talking to her lawyers. Like, I want to see more of Erica's world. Kyle, we are getting that. And we're going to get to that. Kyle doing flowers with Alexia for her wedding. I just want to see more of their worlds. I think we need a more robust world for Beverly Hills because it really paints the picture of the cityscape in which these women belong in and how that fits into their more direct friend group. Even Kyle, like let's get Kris Jenner on the show. Like, you know, like we've seen her on the show before. I just think we need to expand the worlds a little bit more. Moving on. We then go to Kyle and Alexia picking out flowers for the wedding. And I'll just say it. I would have loved an Alexia wedding special.
It's like a surreal starlit dinner in an artist's garden.
I liked Alexia on that little Netflix show they had for a couple seasons with her and the dad and the rest of the sisters. And they were like doing real estate. I thought that show was really cute. I thought they could have kept it. I appreciated seeing Alexia kind of spending time with her sisters. I feel like all the sisters are adorable. I would watch a show with them. But I mean, I guess because Alexia doesn't have a wedding special, it gives Kyle a storyline. And Kyle actually gives Alexia some pretty solid wedding advice, which is just like, you should have what you want. So when you look back on pictures, it's everything you ever wanted that day. The only advice I want to pass along is the advice that my big sister and her husband gave me, my brother-in-law. And their advice was like, don't listen to anyone's advice. Do what you want. And I feel like that's actually super valid. And I would echo that. All my friends who are planning their weddings, people in my life who are planning their weddings, I say, don't listen to anybody. Do what you want. It is your wedding day. But also, this is my second advice that I feel like is important is you do want to think about the guest experience and you want it to be a little bit pleasant. So do what you want, but also what you want should include making sure that other people really enjoy your wedding day and having a solid guest experience. Kyle gets emotional in her confessional and she's talking about what she hopes for Alexia and Jake. And she says that her and Mo were also really in love and that she hopes that they just never hurt each other. And it feels like a very sweet, real mom moment. It's like, that's your little baby girl. She's getting married one day, but also it's during a really tumultuous time you're having with your own relationship. And that is quite sad. We get to the final scene of the episode, and it's a lunch with Dorit, Bose, and Amanda. And just something I noticed, because I do live in Los Angeles, they're eating lunch in Hollywood. And I'm like, okay, well, like Bose lives in Hancock Park. Amanda lives in Kyle's old house, which I thought was in Encino. And Dorit lives in Encino. And not that Encino is that far from Hollywood, but I'm just thinking, like, why aren't they eating? Like, why didn't production set them up to eat somewhere in the valley? You know, like, I, I guess the valley's kind of far for Bose, but it just felt maybe this is Bose's lunch, so that's why they're closer to Bose. It just felt like it's something that I think it doesn't get talked enough about on this show in particular is how far they're commuting to just go shoot their scenes and go to work. The girls in Real Houses of Beverly Hills have a little bit of a commute. So Bose gets to lunch first, and then Amanda arrives. And I noticed that Bose doesn't get up to greet Amanda. She just says hi, and they say hi. And then she sits down because I guess they don't know each other that well. I don't know. It just felt like the energy was a little off, in my opinion. I don't know whose energy was off, but Bose stayed seated and just said hi. And Amanda, hi. And then they sat. Amanda talks about her digital courses and her life coaching business because Bose says, oh, do you have formal business experience? Amanda says no, but she did get her master's as a therapist, and she was thinking about how to grow a personal brand with her therapy business, and then that led to her becoming a digital coach. And I feel like digital coaching had a huge moment. It still has a huge moment, but I feel like now a lot of the coaches are like, let me teach you how to make content. Like it's big about coaching and learning how to be a content creator. But back in the early days of Amanda's business, there was kind of like an MLM adjacency to teaching you how to be a coach, a life coach. Become a life coach. I can teach you how to be a life coach. And then that was like, sign up for my digital courses. And then that became like, oh my God, I have a book. And so Amanda's like, oh, I have a best-selling book. But it's not like it's like a, and I try to do my research. It's not like it's like a New York Times bestseller. Not that that's a slight, like I haven't written a book. So like, I'm not judging, just saying that it, anyway, moving on. So Amanda's talking about her business and she's like, I think a lot of people get into the practicality of finance, but I think it's about the emotional and energy and blah, blah. She like gets into like the woo woo of money. Totally fine, totally valid. Some people need that. There's a book that's called The Psychology of Money, and it's definitely a book that people recommend if you want to get into understanding your personal finances a little bit more. So I get where Amanda is coming from. I'm not mad at her for having her very successful 8-figure digital course business. I do think that digital courses, it's just interesting to see someone who runs digital courses on a show like this because it is so much of like the new world, the new way people make money. And she's talking to Bose, who is definitely a part of the traditional route. You know, this is someone who's been in C-suites and worked at Fortune 500 companies and, you know, did very executive work in very traditional businesses. And here they are in the same place in life, right? Like that's so interesting. And that's an interesting dynamic that I'm curious to see how that plays out over the season. Amanda kind of being this not even new money, but like new access to money that did not exist for Kyle, Dorit, Erica when they were as young as it existed for Amanda, because she's also younger than them. So there's just something interesting about that. And Amanda's paid, so go off, queen. And Bose is visibly bored in this conversation. Her eyes are like kind of glazed over. She's like, I don't care. And that is also a little hilarious to me. Dorit eventually arrives. And when Dorit arrives, she kind of lays out what's going on with her and PK, what's going on with their finances. And now it's clear that the setup of understanding Amanda's background as the money queen and this person that is a life coach and all this becomes very clear as Dorit talks about that she doesn't know if her and PK have a retirement account. PK is slowly unpaying for things. Dorit is now taking on a lot more responsibility with their finances and just like what that stress looks like for them. And it's amazing to me that Dorit knew so little about money, but I guess that's maybe the role that she was playing in her relationship if she's calling PK kind of like the alpha man. And so that's complicated. And Bose says,
knowing like all of these unknowns, is there anything that she can proactively do to protect herself or to like help the situation?
and Amanda starts talking and she's like,
I think you have to decide what you want, what you're creating, and like who you're going to be. Like, I know that's like a big overarching question, but who do you want to be as a provider? Who do you want to be as a woman who earns? Who do you want to be as a woman who husband screwed her and now she has to fill in the gaps? Like, who are you going to be no matter what he does?
Right.
and I guess like Amanda just finished saying in her confessional and to Bose, like, oh, I don't know about like, I'm not like a financial advisor. Like she does say that, but I guess you would assume that someone who has a money coaching business might have picked up on a couple of things, and like that does not become clear in this conversation. But Dorit is sweet and is like, oh, okay, yeah, like, I think it's just gonna get ugly. And I hope it doesn't, but I can see where Dorit is coming from, and that felt real. All right, that concludes our play-by-play. So let's do a quick scoreboard check. And remember, like, whose line is it anyways? The points don't matter, but I'm keeping them anyway. So I felt like in this episode, we really got a few like us moments, but the 3 moments that matter the most were from Erica. Erica ends this episode with 15 points. She had 3 moments: wanting Jack in the Box, being awkward on dates, and wearing black, which everyone got points for wearing black except for Amanda, who was not there. Dorit had 2 moments. I felt like the wanting the Coca-Cola for her energy and also wearing black. Those were kind of the 2 moments that stuck out the most, although, there were a couple others that made her relatable. Kyle is also in the top 3 for the first time this week because of the wearing black on the dates, but her second one was also wanting Jack in the Box. So that concludes our top 3 of the week: Erica, Kyle, Dorit. Erica with 15 points, Dorit with 10, and Kyle with 10. If you're playing along, make sure to update those scorecards. If not, jump in whenever. It's a long season. By the end, we're crowning the most relatable housewife of Beverly Hills. So tell me, who do you think is taking the Like Us diamond? Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you next week, and make sure to follow along at Erin Jones-Wesley or at Like Us Pod for more. Thanks. Bye.